Hello and welcome back to 709 Meridian, an audio commentary podcast. We are your hosts, Dee and Andrew.
Hello.
And don't run away yet, but we're still here with our Fred Ward season. So strap in, kids. This is a big one. We're watching 1990s Tremors today. Tremors was a big, I don't know, it was a hit, right?
It was a video. No, it was a theatrical.
It was a video hit.
It was a huge video hit, maybe cable-ish, but like USA.
Oh yeah, it was always on.
Yeah, but it was like it was during that period where it sure seemed like there was some connection between the USA Network and Universal, even though like it didn't seem like it was official or something.
Yeah, they
But
ran their stuff.
because and then like Swamp Thing was on USA,
Right.
right? And it filmed
Mhm.
at Universal. And so there's all this kind of weird crossover. Universal has, of course, taken a fall in the later years. I also want to acknowledge that I did say we weren't going to do Tremors because it opens the can of worms of do we kick into the divorced dad Michael Gross series that this kicks off starting with the third one.
Oh, yeah.
And now they're still doing them because somebody rediscovered it. And I did you see the one with Jamie Kennedy?
No, I don't think I've seen any of them past two,
I've
which
seen.
two had replaced this one on cable because this had moved on to like you say, USA
Yep,
and Sci-Fi Channel
and it
and
was
maybe
very.
what AMC.
Oh, by the time AMC was showing commercials, I bet Tremors was on there a bunch.
Yeah.
But the sequels we can discuss. What's interesting about the immediate sequels was they didn't cheap on the special effects exactly. Like they still tried to be forward thinking with their special effects, even though they didn't have big name stars by the third one and stuff like that. But that was uncommon for direct-to-video movies in the 90s. So, and then I think the Old West one, I
Yeah,
don't know if I've ever seen it or if I have. I saw it when it came out, but I don't think maybe I rented it on video or something. But like Tremors 2 was a big fucking deal. Like it had a special edition. You can get it in 8K UHD now. Like they when it came out, it had like a special edition laserdisc. They pretended it was like a theatrical release coming to video. It was very interesting. But that's not the one we're watching. We're watching the original, directed by
yeah.
Ron Underwood, who did some good stuff and then sort of went to pot. And he was sort of like a pre-Barry Sonnenfeld in some ways. Those two guys were sort of.
Yeah, I always kind of because this sort of falls into his territory with it's got that quirk.
Yeah. And
It's like
so.
it's more people-friendly Tim Burton.
Mhm. And so Ron Underwood would go on to. I mean, he's doing TV now, but that's better than where he ended up for a while. But that's what it was. He did Heart and Souls. He did the first City Slickers, which was a big hit for him. He did Heart and
Right.
Souls, which was, if not, I need to see it again. It's been ages, but I remember it being pretty good and with a great cast. But then Speechless was really where he fumbled. That was the Michael Keaton, Gene Davis, can't possibly lose political comedy that completely and utterly flopped.
Wow.
Yeah, and then his comeback was Mighty Joe Young, which was not a hit, and as I recall, is god awful. And
Wow.
then Pluto Nash
Why did you?
was going to be his
Oh,
comeback.
ooh, no, that's painful.
Yeah, and then he ended up on doing TV. He did some old person TV movie. I mean, no offense, we're old people now, but he did a movie called Back When We Were Grown-Ups with Blythe Danner, Faye Dunaway, Peter Fonda, and Jack Palance in 2004. So like he was doing that kind of shit. What is that? Classy Hallmark Hall of Fame. TV, then he started doing fucking less classy Hallmark Hall of Fames. Santa Baby 2 starring Jenny McCarthy. Oh, I'm sorry, Wahlberg. She's married to Marky Mark now, or is she married to
Oh
Donnie?
no, it's
Donnie.
Donnie,
Okay.
White
Mm,
Bobby Brown.
okay. He's been in the
Yeah.
Marvel Universe. He directed 3 episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and none of the other shows, so that's kind of humiliating. Uh,
Mm.
but yeah, so Ron Underwood, he sort of seemed like he was going to be Barry Sonnenfeld in that quirk way. Never worked out for him. Didn't work out for Barry Sonnenfeld in the long run either. So we
No.
sort of abandoned all those folks. Um, so yeah, but Tremors. We're going to watch Tremors now. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right,
Here this goes.
starting in 3, 2, 1, play. So for I can't imagine we have many listeners under the age of 40, but if we did,
Hmm.
you might not know that in the 40s or 50s and 60s, Universal did a bunch of sci-fi, usually radiation related. They were a little bit higher class than your Attack of the 40,000 foot man or whatever, but this very much feels like one of
Yeah,
those.
this is homage to. Oh, hey, Kevin Bacon.
It's Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon's in this.
Fred Ward, there he is. So this was probably Fred Ward's, like everything sort of, you could have forgotten that Fred Ward did anything between Right Stuff and this, basically.
Yeah, because a lot of his stuff flew under the radar.
Yeah.
Like Remo Williams came out, and then people were like, "Oh yeah, he did do that, didn't he?"
Yeah. And I think what was that other one? Miami Blues was around this time too, but by 92, Fred Ward was in what was he in? He was in The Player. He had a pretty big part in that. He was in Shortcut, so he started doing Altman movies. I don't know how long he might have kept with that at
Hmm.
length, but so he sort of went over to the art house almost immediately following this for a bit. BB Besh, Mrs. Kirk's baby mama.
Oh yeah. My God, Carol.
Is that David?
Is that David?
It's the 23rd century. We don't have any way for me to get pictures of it. We just looked at the first CGI or second, or no, first, right? Because it was before Last Starfighter. We just looked at the first CGI animation, but we don't have the ability to send snapshots through the Federation. So Tremors starts as a buddy comedy. Now let's watch for the Chekhov's gun here of our rock paper scissors. Tremors feels like a very PG Sam Raimi in some ways, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah. Because that's what I was thinking. If it wasn't Fred Ward, it might have been Bruce Campbell.
or if it wasn't Kevin Bacon, and then
Right.
you could have had a big star, and then it could have been Fred Ward and Jeff Bridges, or if Harrison Ford had had a really bad year or something. SS Wilson and Brett Maddock, they're the two who kept it going for the next the next two direct to video sequels, and then or maybe next three. They might have even done the Old West one, but
Oh man.
I think they all came out of Disney. Like that's the thing that we don't really think about is that the most crap getting made in the 80s was probably Disney TV movies for the Wonderful World of Disney.
Yeah, because they switched networks too. Like for a while, it was ABC, and then
Mhm.
they switched over to NBC for a while, and they were just cranking them out.
Okay, I'm totally wrong about that. They did not do no, but instead, actually, the right.
Uh-uh.
Oh my God, that's right. Hold on, everybody. Get ready. This is going to be good. Um, so they are the scenario writers on or no, just wait. I'm not going to go too far into it. They wrote Short Circuit and possibly Short Circuit 2. They wrote Batteries Not Included.
uh,
Then they sort of latched on to Tremors. We'll talk about what they did when they tried to break out. But in between, the same year they did Tremors now, or not Tremors, I'm sorry. The same year they did, yes, Tremors. This came out in January, which is a big problem, right? Like, January is a dumping ground for movies. This would have been a good late summer movie. Like,
yeah.
when you think about Universal, they're sort of the king of the summer sleeper. When it's not something like Jurassic Park, but 1989 Parenthood was a big hit. It was out for like 12 weeks or 16 weeks. It was out all summer. The paper would do that a few years later. Like they'd just be these, chugging along, making 5-6 million a week, adding up to something respectable by the end. And that would have been in these days 88 million would have been great because at 100 million, everybody expected a sequel.
Uh-huh.
Um, so this came out in January, which was not a good time to release something like this. I mean, especially since it's set in, heat. And so it's not a good winter movie. The other movie they did, of course, was 1990s Summer Spectacular,
Huh.
Ghost Dad.
Oh man.
Yep. 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 Yeah, they did.
You know, I'm not the one to do it, but you could take a lot of clips from that movie and like meme the shit out of it.
Yeah, I'm sure you can.
There's clips you could play out of context, but again, I'm not the one to be insulting or making fun of Mr. Cosby. So just
they
throwing it out there. So
they also wrote a draft of the screenplay to Wild Wild West.
uh,
Mhm.
was the spider in that one too?
Who knows? Probably Bobby Jacoby over there.
All right. Of
Does
the
he?
Jacoby brothers.
I believe he actually shows back up in the
Yeah.
third one
I
for a
think in
cameo.
one of them, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's one where they just bring back everybody that they could, and Michael Gross, I think.
Well, yeah, because so Michael Gross at this point was still the dad from Family Ties. He is now basically this fucking guy, right? Like,
Yeah, this is all he does. He's like the dude that showed up in all the Critters movies.
well, it's also weird because, well, I mean, Family Ties did not have much of a syndication life if you think about it. Like,
Well, yeah, I think they'd hoped it would be like Three's Company, which plays it any and all the time.
right. Or
But
Cosby, right? Like,
yeah, yeah, Cosby Show was
Cosby was
it's
keeping
good filler.
Alvin from having to work. Like,
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's
so,
good filler. But you could only pair those shows together, so you could
right.
recreate those Thursday nights or whatever.
So yeah, but I mean, at the time, the bigger deal was that Reba McEntire was doing sort of a
Yeah,
movie.
Reba was acting now.
And so, and of course, Finn Carter went on to very little. Um,
Yeah, she was. uh,
did she go
Was
on to
that her
Companion?
in? I keep confusing her with the girl that was in one of the Chainsaw movies.
No, she wasn't in a Chainsaw movie. So before this, she did How I Got Into College, which was
Okay, Savage Steve.
yeah, it was a Savage Steve sort of. Was it actually a sleeper? Did people just sort of pretend it was type thing?
No, I didn't even know it was released to theaters at all.
Oh, I wouldn't believe that either.
Because again, it was one of those sneak HBO movies that would just be on all the time.
Dude, what the fuck?
Hmm.
So she did some guest spots, and she was in Ghosts of Mississippi in a very supporting role, which if folks don't remember, you don't need to. But then, like, she was in a May September romance with Adrian Pasdar and Victoria Principal. But then she, like, basically fucking just completely and utterly disappeared. One of her last things is called Missing Pieces. Listen to this cast. This is amazing. Hold on, who directed it? Was it no? It was Carl Schenkel, actually. Okay, so but cast is James Coburn, Lisa Zane, Billy
Oh,
Moses, Maxwell Caulfield, and Julio Oscar Michoza, who was a frequent guest star on Miami Vice, and you would recognize him. So, but yeah, last credit is the lead in Halfway Decent, co-starring Ernie Hudson.
mm, mm.
But okay, so everybody pay attention to the gadgets they are assembling here because they're going to be coming back. That's one of the, yeah, this also kind of feels like a sleeper in the Big Trouble in Little China vein that, like,
Yeah,
it had a lot of fans, but they'd never seen it in the theater or even, thought about it being in the theater.
no, it was. You went to rent this.
That, of course,
This was
is going to
a
be,
big rental.
yeah, Ariana Richards over there, who would be in Jurassic Park in a few years.
Mm.
And does she come back and cameo for a second in maybe the third one too, or something like?
No, she was in the second one.
Second one,
Her and
okay.
the boy, and then I don't know. I can't remember if they ever came back.
No, I don't mean Jurassic Park. I mean, I think she comes back
Oh, in
in one of
this?
the, yeah, she pops in for a second. Like Billy Jacoby's a character in the third one. Like I think he's got a whole, like he's part of the um siege. And so that's the other thing is, and I don't know how it works with the new ones or the ones after, because there are 8 or 9 of them now. But
Oh my god!
after, yeah, and they had a TV show on USA too. Don't forget,
Yeah, I remember that.
which I think has been released.
They promote the hell out of that.
Yeah, and it was that sci. That was a sci-fi. That was when
Yeah.
sci-fi was spending money on stuff. Sci-fi also with their um, Universal connection. But here we go. Things at this point, we're 13, 14 minutes in, and things are about to kick off. They think the power line guy is just up there drunk and passed out. So Kevin Bacon's going to go get him. This is also kind of when Kevin Bacon started being more of, if not a leading man, part of a duo versus a quartet or more.
Hmm.
Because he'd be in Flatliners in 90, and that was very much an ensemble of, the not Brat Pack, but similarly aged. I mean,
Yeah, they
oh,
were the '90s up and comers.
mm-hmm.
Even though Kevin Bacon had been around for a
Kevin
while
Bacon had been around
at that
Friday
point.
the 13th, part one. I mean,
Animal House.
Flashdance, right? Animal House. Flashdance was 84. So, like, Kevin
No,
Bacon was on a comeback. Not
that was
Flashdance,
Footloose.
Footloose. Yeah, yeah. So he was Kevin Bacon has perpetually been in a state of trying to come back. And
In a
then
way, it was like Tom Cruise sort of stole his thunder.
yeah, yeah, because I mean, when you think about it, um, Footloose, that era, that was before. Because I mean, Tom Cruise's breakthrough was Top Gun, right? Like that
Hmm.
was yeah. Okay, boom, there we go.
Yeah,
We're
old
gonna be
fella
able to
got swallowed.
we're gonna be able to track it with science. So like, what were we watching? We were watching Beacon 23, and they have
Mm.
like future science stuff on there, and you're just like, okay, like no expectation that anybody can understand what it's
But this is
doing.
also very very Jaws.
Yes, it, Jaws in the desert, sort of.
And yeah, and I think that's why Universal just keeps going with it
That is a good
because
point.
they could never do this with Jaws.
No, because water's too much of a problem
Yeah, it's too much.
until Sharknado stole their thunder.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, so I mean, we're gonna do a
yeah,
we're gonna just sort of have a limited population that the unseen monster can eat through until it
yeah.
shows up.
And this is just again homage to the B movies too,
Yep.
where it's a remote location, a community,
So I mean, yeah, it came from outer space, takes place in a small town, for
all of
sure.
them. The Blob.
Yeah. So then here we've got the road crew. Let's pay attention to them. And so basically, they're in a valley that there's only one way in and out of. And
Hmm.
so it's like a very contained space sort of thing here. It's not, it can't be a disaster movie because there's not enough to destroy, basically. It's kind of like, what if it's one of Irwin Allen's TV movies only with monsters? This guy gives the vibes of being a stuntman on a not the guy drilling, but the guy with the
So the
fucking
stick
the crowbar. He gives the vibes
crowbar.
of a seems like a Friday the 13th stuntman. Just
Yeah.
like how he moves
The
a little slow,
yeah.
like his best
The
years
Jason
is
that gets
stunt. Yeah,
the Jason that gets hit with the heavy shit.
yeah. Okay, now we got Victor Wong here.
Yes, sir.
Um,
Who was also in Big Trouble in Little
he was
China.
also in Big Trouble in Little China. Wow, I just realized, when is the first time there's a black person in a Tremors movie? I hope it's not the Old West one. But that's the other sort of thing about this era of ensemble casts is you throw
Oh yeah.
together
You can't
like
it's not when somebody black or anything, anybody else shows up. But then again, it's always an Asian or a
Yep.
Latino,
We
especially
got
if it takes place in this
in this neck of the
England.
woods. Yeah.
Black folks live out there. But then again,
Yeah. I mean,
a lot of folks are
it,
just like,
it's
why it
still
always got to be somebody black in the
it, it's been 34 years, and we would still have a lot of people would still have problems with black people wearing cowboy hats, as we've learned this year. Uh, so
yeah, it's like,
yeah. Okay, so there we got some quick gore. I think it's PG-13. I think it is because I mean there's brainy
yeah,
guts and stuff. So like it's not it's there's very few I think with Tremors there's very few sort of PG-13 gore movies like
well,
that level of gore that is
this
a
was,
comedy.
yeah, this was around that time.
Cuz this
Tremors
yeah, it was post
did well enough
Critters.
because something like Arachnophobia was big, wasn't it?
Arachnophobia was 92 and that was a big summer
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean we were coming back to this and it Arachnophobia and this those were very I mean you'd had Critters, right? And that was like comedy
Hmm.
based, but those were R-rated.
Mm-mm.
You'd had they weren't
No, those were PG-13.
really okay. But then The Blob was a R-rated
Yeah.
remake. So that was but this was I mean, when people talk about having an original property because nothing's original anymore, yes, they did that once and then they made 9 sequels out of it over 40 years, whatever. Like, it's not like if we have a new, entirely original property that's not just going to get sequelized to high hell. Like, okay, so Billy Jacoby's brother is Bobby Jacoby's
No,
brother
this is Bobby
is
Jacoby.
okay. The other one's Billy. That's the one who
Billy,
was
yeah,
on
Parker
Parker
Lewis.
Lewis and in some USA Up All Night TNA
Party
comedies.
champ.
Okay.
He was a party champ. And Bobby was in another real good one, Meet the Applegates.
Okay. So I don't know where I've never actually seen the show. I don't know if the show returns them to the small town. The third movie might actually. I
Hmm.
can't remember. I think the third one's actually just called Back to Perfection.
Uh,
Um, or is that the fourth? I can't. I mean, they've got like a good day to Tremor hard now or something like that. Like the
well, they'd
new
have to have
one,
the small town set, you know.
yeah. And I think they could do that for the show, but they can't really do that for your direct
Mm-mm.
to video movies. And then they tried doing another pilot for it in 2018 or 2019 with Kevin Bacon returning.
Oh,
And it didn't get picked up.
wow.
And as far as I know, it hasn't leaked anywhere. So we don't know. But that was like his idea. So no idea how much was involved with these other the Maddox and the FSS Wilson it doesn't look like Ron Underwood directed it from when I just went through his
Well,
filmography. So but yeah, here we've got a couple other characters who you just kind of can have a quick scene with. I mean, that's sort of the thing about these not really these sort of studio B movies of the 80s and 90s. Um, this sort of what's the word what's that word?
Hmm.
compartmentalized narratives where you can just sort of fit in these supporting players. This doesn't really hold up in the pace of the modern era, but like even starting in the late 90s, like
Hmm.
you would stunt cast your cameos and then that would burn out pretty quick because that's just what Roland Emmerich did. Was he'd just have, this type of thing, only it would be, I mean, I don't know, whoever. Like,
Christopher Lloyd or some shit.
yeah, like somebody who looks like Matthew Broderick, but not Matthew Broderick, and somebody else. Like,
Uh-oh.
uh, trying to think, what else? I mean, Universal in a lot of ways was about the only monster slash sci-fi horror movie studio of the 80s, other than your I guess Fox too, like
Yeah.
Aliens and Fly, but
And then you got whatever New Line was putting out.
New Line was, a B
New Line was more
studio.
horror.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
But
like Freddy type shit.
yeah. Okay, there we go. We are 25 minutes in and we've seen this. Is this the monster? Oh yeah, and when you think about it, yeah, Fox really was the only one doing major space stuff. Universal tried it, of course, with The Last Starfighter, but that did not go well for them.
No.
It's so weird. You think if Last Starfighter had if it had just,
No, it
if
came out on the heels of the Return of the Jedi.
yeah, if they'd just been able to hold on long enough for, I don't even know, like, yeah, if you'd been in the period where the only space sci-fi you had was Star Trek, and you were out of
Hmm.
the Return of the Jedi era, I'm sure that would have picked up. There's also the CGI special effects in Last Starfighter are turned out to date it more than I'm sure anybody thought. I guess they didn't think CGI was going to get much better than that, so it would hold up.
Right.
But that was an odd choice in the end. Get this nice
Which
shot of the
also
headlights.
makes me wonder why they won't do like an edition where they just go over that, remaster it.
Right? That can't be that. I mean, like, they do it for video games. You think they could do it for the
Yeah.
last
I think
Starfighter?
they would do it for that. And shit like I'm waiting for a reissue of Tron Legacy where they fix Jeff Bridges.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of saw some of that in this sort of rumors that Disney was fixing stuff up, but I think that was only a Disney thing, and I don't think that actually lasted or was as significant as anybody thought, right? Like, supposedly they had versions of the Marvel shows that didn't have any blood in them and stuff like that. And it was just like, no, that was a mistake. We were just testing to see whether or not you could push a button to take the blood out. But like, there was always sort of the hope that they were going to keep, you know, do longer renders on some of the She-Hulk and stuff like that. Like, but we shall see with that. So I can't remember. Was Meredith Baxter Burney? Did she do anything post Family Ties, or was she just on TV movies? Did she try another
Yeah,
series?
her big thing was Betty Broderick.
Yeah,
Betty Broderick TV movies. But I don't think she did anything immediately after
but
because
like
they
this,
all sort of spread out.
yeah, this is about the only thing that Michael Gross did besides playing a rapist businessman on TV shows.
Oh yeah, he was always a scumbag, the special
Yeah,
guest star
he was
scumbag,
always, yeah, he showed
because he
up
had
and then he
cut
was,
his beard.
yep,
He went clean shaven, and then he was unrecognizable.
clean shaven Michael Gross was just a scumbag. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a scumbag. He was always a creep. I guess he was going by the Kevin Kline theory.
Mm,
You know, you're either wacky or nice if you have the facial hair or something, right? And then if you're clean shaven, you're a scumbag or you're serious.
so another element of this era is, of course, the good guy with a gun. The good guy gun nut was that gun nuts with a heart of gold.
Yeah.
Is that you would have sort of lengthy gags about gun nuts, and then it would turn out that they were helpful in the end and not gun nuts.
So off they go, like the mavericks they are.
We haven't seen the girl in a while, and they seem to have sort of forgotten about her. But that's going to lead to one of our first big action sequences. So that's the other thing about this is that we've had pretty consistent action sequences every few minutes since minute 15 or so, right? Like I think the first Avengers, they say, is every 10 minutes there's an action sequence until there's nothing but an action sequence. And that's kind of a piece of the action movie, right? Like a disaster movie, you do, you know, 20-25 minutes of buildup, maybe with some blowing gaskets somewhere. And then you're doing essentially an obstacle course. And then you're going to have your big action finale. But the idea of doing action, around every commercial break was sort of, it did not jump from TV to movies as much as it has by now. Um,
Uh-uh.
this is a very Sam Raimi thing. This seems like, and then not just because of what I think that's actually a bit in Army of Darkness, or maybe not, but whatever.
Oh, with the
Okay, pay attention to
headlight.
that shot. Oh, we missed it, but there's some sort of a canal, man-made canal thing with some cement. That'll be important later.
Oh, whoa.
But I mean, you just can see that they came up with a bit that did not require like a lot of work on the set in a way, right? You just got to kick up some dust. Oh, you can
Mhm.
see the string holding onto the yeah.
Oh man.
It's pretty hardcore for animal cruelty. We'll have to look for the thing.
Whoa.
But this would be the thing in the mid 80s is or mid 90s was everybody sort of assumed that everything was going to be CGI immediately, but there was still the practical large scale effects guys. So here we have the
Uh-huh.
sandworm from
Hmm.
Dune, also a universal release. But I mean, yeah, isn't this a Jaws 4? Don't they, or no, when are they dinging the bells? Oh no, dinging the bells is Weekend at Bernie's. Never mind.
We're
There we go. It ran itself into the storm drain or whatever. I don't know if you need a storm drain in Nevada. But whatever it is. Pretty fucking gross. And so this was what was Poltergeist 3? Was that 89 or 88?
Nine.
89. So I mean
No,
for
wait. No, I think it was 88.
okay. So for every Poltergeist 3 that proves that shows that practical effects can be a bad idea, Tremors shows that there were still guys who knew how to get rubber slimy.
Yeah, make it look at least not so. They made it look tangible.
Yeah.
Made it look because if you look at it and it's CGI, even then specifically, if it's not Jurassic Park,
Yeah. When was the first non-Jurassic Park successful like wildlife CGI?
uh, it didn't come for a while.
No.
Didn't they say the Jungle Book? Maybe.
I've never seen that one. The one with the dragon?
Mm,
Never seen that one. But they were still using animatronics and all sorts of shit through the 90s. Like
yeah,
I think Mighty Joe Young, that was
yeah, that was
animatronics.
animatronic.
George of the Jungle had an animatronic ape.
And then by the
Buddy.
time what you call it came around, Peter Jackson's Kong, that's when it was all
uh,
everything was fucking CG.
I mean, sort of Lord of the Rings, everything was CG, right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah. So it had taken that long to sort of create the CG world
'cause
of
everybody was chasing Gollum,
yeah, that's right.
which honestly I don't. uh, it looks good, but it looks like what it is. He looks like a special effect.
Right.
You know, I don't know about that looks real shit, but
We're gonna bring back the rock, paper, scissors yet? No, okay.
okay, science girl is sciencing here.
Yeah. Because we can tell because it's just whatever um land whatever shit. Sure I knew what that was called at some point in my life. Uh fucking A. Uh-oh.
Oh,
Yeah. Because we've had 5 minutes without special effect, without a sort of
yeah, you gotta keep it
action
running.
sequence. Yeah. And this is also, you kind of get the luck out because you have a filming location where you can do this. Like, this is the type of thing that when people talk about how CGI action sequences all seem like they're similar, it's because nobody has to think about them in space anymore.
Uh-uh.
Which is really weird because when you think about it, from about Running Scared to, The Fugitive was a really good example of it. Chain Reaction still did it.
Hmm.
Speed 1 did it to some extent because it was set in a real place. But your locations got to contribute to your action sequence. And did the first two Spider-Man had like architecturally relevant action sequences, right? Like it was based on where they were at. I feel like by the third one that was gone. And then DC's never done it because if you're in a
No,
fictional
DC,
place, you're not going to fuck around with the landmark in the fictional
all of it,
place.
with the exception of that location shooting, you know, because they did shoot in they shot downtown at
Not downtown for Dark Knight, but
the um the train station
yeah.
in Man of Steel.
Oh, that's right. But like, not the
Where
same
stupid
way as
Superman could have flown Zod out of there. Or some shit.
what's it called? The Untouchables. Untouchables
Oh
was
yeah,
another example of doing a bunch of your locations part of your star, and that's just gone now. Like,
yeah, they don't do that no more. Especially once they discovered filming somewhere else can always double for somewhere else.
mhm.
you know?
And I mean that started with what's it called? Die Hard, not Die, yeah, Die Hard 3. Right? The train station thing was shot in Atlanta. That part of the
Mm,
action sequence was one of the first things that they were using like Atlanta studios for. And then but they still had they still shot a lot of it in New York, and it was, it's a pain in the ass to shoot on big things on location. US Marshals and Chicago.
mm-hmm.
Actually, though, U.S. Marshals did a bunch of fucking action sequences in Chicago, but it was set in. It wasn't set in Chicago. They were shooting Chicago for someplace else, right?
I think so.
Yeah,
But they did have some spots in Chicago, like because that's where they were supposedly located.
that's right.
But it
So
was,
what?
but there were sequences that were shot supposed to be shot in New York, but I think they still shot out in Chicago.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
U.S. Marshals starts in New York, and so they were shooting Chicago for New York. That was during the era Chicago was really pushing for more shooting. Like you had, I mean, you had the Fugitive, you had Chain Reaction, you had U.S. Marshals, but you also had Payback, stuff like that.
mm-hmm.
But Payback was like unnamed city, not Chicago. Like,
Right. It didn't. It's not really obvious till the director's cut.
or if you like really know one of the blocks or
If you
something.
know
Yeah.
Chicago, yeah. So they're trapped out here in the desert, and the Tremors creatures are after them. But to be safe as to not walk on sanded ground, they must traverse via rocky terrain.
Oh,
Oh,
that's not Kevin Bacon. Was that Kevin Bacon? I don't think that was Kevin Bacon. I don't think.
wow.
Yep.
Really, I mean, I guess it's just a case of not wanting to take a chance, but they could have just ran that. Uh,
I feel like that was used in like a how stunts are made. Maybe it was in Tremors had a special edition Laserdisc release in like 90 mid 90s when the second one came out. That was what I was talking
mhm.
about earlier. Because Universal was really big on that. And so I have a vague memory of them talking about just how fast the stunt woman had to turn her head and shit like that. That now you don't even think about because um, they'll just CGI some hair in front of her face or whatever. But yeah, so now we're back in town. Everybody's here. We're approximately halfway through the movie, and I'm pretty sure we're going to spend the next 40 minutes under siege of one way or another.
Oh,
And so
that's right.
that's, yeah, because I mean, that's like and that's what I'm kind of curious about with the post, post original production team. Tremors move, direct to video ones is do they do the siege part? Because that's part of the formula in a way that they're not on the run the whole time. There's not government scientists. That was another big thing. Remember the government scientists showing up to investigate, like in the Blob.
Yeah. We don't want to kill it. We want to contain it.
John Seneca was probably like, I just did that part in the Blob. I don't need to be in Tremors.
So now we're establishing the other characters.
Mm-hmm. And the science isn't complicated. It's just don't make too much sonic vibrations, or you'll call them over.
Yeah,
Like,
like sharks.
yeah, I mean that's the thing about this is it's kind of like it's a movie that what like a 10-year-old would still a 10-year-old can watch this and pay a little attention,
Yeah.
but it can also scale up. Like that's the thing is that it's a
Well,
multi-quadrant release.
13-year-olds should have loved it. Like
Right.
this was we were the target audience for this
Yep.
shit at the time.
And they marketed it wrong. And
Yeah.
because that happens today, right? What was it? Suits all of a sudden became the biggest hit in the world or something because it just turns out that people who watch Netflix like Suits type stuff.
Mm,
But it's like it's not like it was then because then you would just have video hits just take off. You'd have cable hits just take off. I don't remember
mhm,
the last time you could have had a pay cable hit take off. Like, what's
mm.
the last movie that got like I don't know a sequel or anything based on it how it did on Showtime like versus
U- Universal was always trying to make a franchise happen.
and they had no um it's the word I'm looking for, not respectability, maybe like they were willing to turn Midnight Run into a TV movie franchise. They were willing to turn fucking I mean what are there 9 Beethoven movies, like
Right.
how many Problem Childs were they willing to do? Universal, because I think they just knew that you just had to sell it to the video store in that era. You just had to
Hmm.
sell the cable rights and you'd be fine.
American Tail, Land Before Time.
Oh man, Land
Uh,
Before Time.
what else did they have? They tried with the Chipmunks for a minute, but thankfully I think that was like a limited thing. Uh, damn, they had Darkman.
Darkman.
They tried with
Um,
those movies. Then they tried to do with the I saw the pilot, which is awful.
yeah, Pilot's terrible. What were the other action shows that Midnight Run was? That was Night. There was a Knight Rider one. There
Yeah, it only got
was
one.
Forbidden Sun or whatever. There was a martial arts one.
Smokey and the Bandit. There was Bandit.
There
They were
was
trying to.
Bandit. Yes, and they had already done that with Bandit. They had made, they successfully did a Bandit 2. The third one was when they were back at the well. And Universal was famous for bleeding the well dry, which some would argue, and I would disagree, with Jaws 3. But I mean, you could argue the same thing about Jaws 2. So,
Mhm.
like, I wonder what their first. Had they done any other sequels before Jaws?
Uh,
Interesting question.
yeah, because Jaws 2 was like a big sequel.
Mhm.
And before that, it had just been, well, if you don't count their monster movies.
Right. So, I mean, but the last was Creature from the Black Lagoon, the last one they turned into a series. I think
Yeah,
it
because he was the last
was.
monster,
Yeah.
the last classic
Child's
monster.
Play. They turned that into
Yep.
a fucking, yep. Um, why does it say Parenthood's a franchise?
Well, they had two shows.
Oh, that's the subcategories. I'm in the wrong place. Hold on.
Mm.
Uh,
Oh, so we got a big one here that's about to.
and it's pretty simple. There's only three of them. You only have to keep track of them that far. I'm not seeing anything from before this, but yes, these are the people who made sure that we had multiple Meet the Parents movies. Um, yeah. So Universal was the studio that you could bank on for sequels. Sony, Columbia, TriStar, whatever you want to call it, they would sort of take up that mantle in the late 90s and you'd get a
Mhm.
lot of sequels to those things. But in this point in time, Universal was your best bet at a sequel.
Yeah, because they tried it, and then when it wasn't theatrical, they definitely hit you with the direct to video.
Mm-hmm. Because for those who don't know, direct to video, the biggest seismic change in direct to video was actually Theodore Rex, the Whoopi Goldberg movie that they decided was not worth releasing in theaters. And then that sort of opened the floodgates that you could just put your dumper theatricals on video.
Hmm.
And that's the world we live in today. And what's so frustrating about that is there's so much stuff you could be like, you should have just put that out on video. There's no reason Super Mario Brothers needs to get. What is up with that
Yeah,
crush bottle?
yeah. I was about to say, what the hell flavor is that? I don't recall them doing anything.
Shit.
Uh,
Oh, this
them-
ain't this is not some PG movie. This isn't a Disney movie where everybody's gonna live. We're gonna kill Victor Wong. You liked him. That's not Victor Wong. Look at him hide his face. That's Victor Wong. Yeah, it's so funny because when you think about how John Carpenter never did Halloween, right? They took over the franchise on Halloween. Universal likes franchises so much they're willing to turn other people's shit into franchises. Like
But by part four,
they gave up. Yeah,
yeah, they didn't even have it, did they?
no, they gave up. They didn't have Carpenter. Well, wait, They Live and Prince of Darkness are both at Universal, but
Huh.
Big Trouble wasn't. And Big Trouble of all the Carpenter movies, that's the one I can't figure out. Like that's the one where The Thing too, obviously. Like
Big Trouble either came out when something bigger was out, or
I
they
feel
just
like
didn't advertise it
yeah,
right.
even at the time, 86 was a weird year. Like it was just a like you still had Brat Pack hits and things like that, right? Like so just some it was just the wrong time for Big
Yeah, it
Trouble.
was a strange year. 'Cause I can't think of anything else that came out in '86 that was, you know,
I mean, Aliens came out, but Aliens was a it was not a blockbuster. It was a slow and steady.
it was popular. Yeah,
Yeah, like
again, people loved it in the theaters if you saw it in theater, and
you
that
go.
was like the
Yeah.
video.
Was it The Fly 86 or was it 87?
Fly was '86. Yeah,
Yeah, and that was another
that was
huge one.
probably
Yeah.
yeah, that was probably the big one of '86.
But yeah, so you were now having R-rated blockbusters, right? And so this would
Hmm.
then lead into your Lethal Weapons, your Die Hards.
See, now that's something they never mentioned on that Quiet on the Set. They never mentioned how in during their old original first like Kids Choice Awards,
mm-hmm.
R-rated movies got into the categories. Like Beverly Hills Cop 2 won one of the first Kids Choice Awards. And it was a rated R movie that kids really shouldn't have been able to go
Right.
see. But because Paramount runs all of that shit,
Oh my God. Who's gonna buy is what's the latest?
oh,
Who's
it's
gonna buy
Sony
him?
gonna
Sony gonna buy him? Okay, cool. Because I wanted a crossover between Ghostbusters and shit. What
Star
are they?
Trek?
Yeah, Star Trek meets Ghostbusters, or what else? Does fucking Paramount even have anything else at this point?
No, that's why they keep running Star
Brady
Trek in it
Bunch. What
now.
are you talking about? They got Brady Bunch.
Yeah, but
Um,
they haven't done anything with them in a long time.
that's kind of fucked up that they haven't. Like, why didn't you figure that shit out? Like, probably because of just what side of Paramount I was on. But okay,
You know
so
what
we are
else?
now.
They're really sitting on top of Happy Days. Like, I wonder if they'll ever try to, you know, reboot that or some shit.
Did the Wonder Years remake make it past 2 seasons?
They crashed out. It was like a season and a half or something because
Okay.
they got rid of Fred Savage.
Oh, quiet on the set, everybody. Uh,
Hmm.
there was a reason Fred Savage and Jason Hervey disappeared for a while, it turns out. Perhaps we
Yep.
should have had Wikipedia in the mid 90s. I
Hmm.
remember when that shit was just like an item in Tempo. Like in the Chicago Tribune, there's just like a little line item. They're like, Fred Savage and Jason Hervey had to pay a settlement to some, fucking teenage girl they raped. And it was just like, oh, what? Tune
Yeah.
in next week for the.
So things didn't really change for him for 30 some years.
Was he narrating the new one?
No,
Oh,
no, the new one was a black family.
I know. That's why I was very confused what Fred Savage was doing in it.
No, he was like producing,
Oh, okay.
and he, I think he directed a few episodes.
Okay. So,
But
speaking of TV show remakes and white men, uh, Scott MacFarlane is teaming up with Martin Scorsese to preserve some cartoons from the 30s. And somebody's
uh,
comment was, well, yeah, he wants to make sure none of the racist ones get destroyed. Uh, it's weird. It's like I've yet to see anybody have anything even remotely nice to say about Good Times.
no, and they won't. It'll be just a little joke on Family Guy in a year, unless they already done it.
Right. So here we've got this is actually so we just did a really quick whatever pan or whatever and there was a real quick transition to the model like so they're really good. That's what was really cool about what we assumed Ron Underwood would be like with any special effects movie was that he was going to be good at, you know, sort of integrating things, which not many people were, or if not many people even attempted, right? Like it was Spielberg, Lucas produced movies, Amblin movies, and basically um, even your um, I mean, Aliens, I guess at the end, because you did have stop motion with the Queen, but you really
Hmm.
weren't. And I mean, Robocop did it, right? Robocop 1 did it, Robocop 2 did it. And then by Robocop 3, they were like, we don't have any money for this. We're going to show you an Ed 209 model and do one nice composite shot. And that's it for the whole
And
fucking
that's
movie.
it.
And then it's going to be terrible fucking.
And every time you see it, it's just standing there.
Yeah. So that whole thing of trying to integrate special effects like between I mean Poltergeist 3 is a perfectly good example of that being done poorly. So I don't think that guy makes it. I think he might be the last to go.
Dude with the hat.
Yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, I mean, so we're at an hour, so we've just been hanging out around town for the last 15 minutes, but we've you know been doing a bunch. We've killed off Walter Victor Wong, we've introduced the shooting to it, like it's the people on top of the house. I mean, it's Tremors is just a very you know, it's nice and methodical. It's easy to pick up. It's easy to watch it again. It's easy to pick it up when it's on TV, and you're
yeah,
just going to catch the last hour of it. It's very A to B to C to D, and it just you know this is
yeah. This is one of those movies. If you turn it on, you're catching it at the same part.
yeah. Has Kevin Bacon? He hasn't come back to a superhero movie since that fucking X-Men one, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I keep thinking he did though. I don't know.
I mean, considering how desperate he is for money, it's a surprise. I mean, no, I mean, you know, I love Kevin Bacon, like you know, but you know, he did lose all of their money in the Bernie Madoff thing, and so he and Kyra Sedgwick have to work their asses off.
Well, it's one of those things where all those, there's a lot of actors who are saying, "Fuck it, give me a check
Yeah,
if I gotta wear that stupid costume." So
Yeah, you notice Robert Redford did it because he could wear a suit, not because he had to dress up.
Wait, the mom doesn't make it, does she?
Yeah, I think she makes it. They're not going to kill him. Now. I mean, they might. I don't remember, but I don't think they do.
Because I could see it. Save my daughter.
Think.
I can't believe I don't remember most of this. It's just
Well, it's because at this point in the
spots.
movie, it's just continuous action. I realize that I don't even remember the finish. Like, there's a
It,
big finish, but I don't remember what it is.
see, this is spotty to me with the second one. That was.
Yeah, because I mean, the second one basically has this exact same type of siege
Hmm.
sequence. Um,
Oh, here we go.
oh yeah, he goes through the yeah. But I mean, this is very Sam Raimi. Like,
Yeah, really, if it was Raimi, we would have gone through the hole and come up.
right.
Well, well.
It's weird they never did one. Did Michael Gross always come back though? I think he always came back because it's weird they never did like a teen one, like a Jaws 2 type where the teens are partying at the ranch.
Yeah, if they did do one of those, he's the guy that comes in and like
Right.
Brody.
Because you could well, that's the other thing about the Tremors is, and it's weird they never even tried that, is you could do a very horror movie Tremors, like if you wanted
Uh,
to.
Tremors versus Sharknado.
Anaconda versus Lake Placid.
Yeah, see.
Speaking of Sony getting into the business, like well, and Sony had a somewhat comparable with
God, Kevin
the
Bacon's belt buckle bothers me.
the Starship Troopers. The first two Starship Troopers direct to video sequels, they're written by the same guys, at least one of the same guys, and the second one is this incredibly low budget siege movie for the entire thing, and that's
Hmm.
because Sony wasn't willing to give them a cent for having Phil Tippett direct it, but they really wanted Phil Tippett to direct it, so they did that. And then the third one's more of a sci-fi movie level sequel.
Shit.
I think the first two of those are fine because what's his face? That's always going to be Casper Van Dien's perfect casting, like superficial, whatever. It just is Casper Van Dien. Like, you want to talk about somebody who was always willing to fucking do whatever job he got off Casper
Yeah,
Van
right.
Dien. Like,
For real.
I hope he doesn't go. I can't remember. He might go.
Well,
Not the kid,
thing,
the
no,
Latino.
with
Yeah.
him, yeah,
Yeah.
I think he does because
Yeah, he does.
he's a no name.
Yep. But I mean, that's the other sort of thing about this scale of a action sequence. You can still have your main cast involved. Like, by isn't there one of the Lethal Weapon movies where you're obviously just watching the stuntmen? I can't remember. maybe in
Three,
three. Yeah. But if at
three.
some point with those things, depending on what kind of action sequences you're doing, you're just watching stuntmen. Like True Lies, James Cameron just embraced it. Like, look at this cool fucking stuntman doing stuff. Isn't that fucking crazy? And so we've completely moved away from that. I assume they just CGI over their faces at this point, which is what they did in starting with Jurassic Park. They realized they could do that.
Yeah, yeah, they've been doing it for
Yeah.
a while. They definitely do it in Mission Impossible.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because nobody ever talks about all the stunts Tom Cruise does that aren't the big one. You know, like
Right. And even then,
Tom Cruise is only
some of
willing
those
to do something really stupid once.
he's they only show him do maybe the start of the stunt.
Right.
You never see him actually complete one of those crazy ass stunts.
How they have done that series and not ever figured out how to do it without Tom Cruise is kind of funny. Like,
Well, they were willing to give what's his name a shot, but I don't think he could hold down a franchise.
who?
Um, at one point,
Oh,
what was
Renner.
it, four? Yeah, they were gonna
Yeah, they were going to
give it
give it to
over to Jeremy
Renner.
Renner, and that was around the same time he was supposed to take uh
Born. Yeah.
Bourne, but then he was also Hawkeye.
Yep.
So, eh. But I just don't think he's in it. I don't really.
Yeah, he didn't even show. He wasn't even in one of the Mission Impossibles after the first one, was he? Or like he wasn't in five. I can't even.
Well, no, he was in. What was it? He was in Ghost Protocol. He
Okay.
was in the one after that, Fallout. Was that Fallout? No, it was Rogue Nation, I think. He wasn't in Fallout.
Okay.
He wasn't in the last two. The most recent one in Fallout.
Did you have you seen Dead Reckoning one yet?
Yeah, I gotta watch it again though.
Okay.
It's not bad. It's just, eh.
I love how they have
What's her
least
name?
less memorable titles than fucking video games.
Haley Atwell plays probably one of the most infuriatingly annoying characters,
Okay.
but it's pretty good. Even though it's the same kind of oh they got to go on the run again type
Yeah, of
shit.
course it is. They've been
Mission Impossible has become like Police Academy. They
do
only
they
do.
always have to go on the run? When's the one time they had to go on the
That's
run?
what I'm saying. Like they only have two major plots. Either Ethan Hunt is set up and has to go on the run, or they have to recover something from a rogue agent. And sometimes you have both.
Yeah, I think
Like there's
what was
very
it?
few of them that have had actual villains in them,
Um,
or guys that weren't turncoats.
right. And then spending half the movie wondering if somebody is a turncoat is
Mm-hmm.
just yeah. Um yeah, the fourth one, that was the Brad Bird one that everybody was like, oh, it's so good. It's Brad Bird doing live action. It was like,
Yeah, it was alright.
I'm a stunt person. Yep, jumped. There we go. I'm still the same stunt person.
Ooh, ooh.
Oh, they got her to jump down one. That's nice.
Gar, gar. See, that's the problem with the creatures. They're funny looking, but they have no personality. They got
I
to be like
mean, they do
they
get
should be like the critters,
personality.
you know?
They get personality later. Do you know where it ends up? Are they called ass blasters? At some point they turn into mobile things and are able to fly short distances by farting.
That's what I was just about to say. Didn't they do
Yeah,
one where they fly?
by farting. Yes. I think
Oh
that's
god.
three. I think that's three. Next one is when they get mobile, and then three is when they start flying. But that's another thing with these. And I mean, you see that with, I mean, it's not as big of a deal as it should be with Jurassic Park movies, I feel like, but um you always want to introduce, I mean, the Alien movies were like this, the Predator movies were like this, which was
Hmm.
one of their mistakes. You always want to introduce a new level of creature or monster in your sequel, right? Like,
Yeah, make it
which
more threatening.
doesn't necessarily have to, that doesn't matter with something like it doesn't really matter with something like Aliens, or it shouldn't matter. Predator is a great example of them always making terrible choices.
Yeah, because you don't need a fucking super predator or a hybrid,
You
and
got a hybrid, you got a super predator, you got dogs, you got the
yeah, the
ones
dogs.
that Derek Mears is playing all the predators. Like,
Oh shit!
it's just too much. Like, you don't actually need that. It's a strong fucking alien thing that can see in the dark or whatever. Like,
Right. And if it has to be like an animal, it doesn't. Don't make it a fucking
fucking
like dog
dog.
like thing. Man, how old is Reba McEntire? Because she looks.
I don't think Reba McEntire has aged since this, though. So I think she was just born, let's see, 34. 34?
Wow.
Wow.
Hmm.
She aged really well.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
She looks 34. She's supposed to be 34, but looks fucking 17. She looks young in this. She aged really well.
So this is your Jaws 2.
Because that was not 34 back then.
Now.
Wow. Yeah, here we go.
Uh-oh. See,
More trouble.
that's why you put your characters in caps and sunglasses, because they can fucking be
Yeah,
stuntmen.
stunt people.
All right. We've got 20 minutes left. Are they can't quite remember. Yeah, I cannot remember what happens after this point. I thought Victor Wong made it until at least like the hour
Yeah,
mark, but he did not.
yeah, that's why my memory is so Swiss cheese with these movies.
I wonder. So Reba McEntire wasn't in the movie very often for video, though, based on that shot.
She didn't really. Well,
Did she? I mean, she did the sitcom in the '90s, right? That was in the '90s.
yeah, that sitcom
So
ran for a minute too.
yeah,
She had a sitcom. Then didn't she have like a talk show too? I thought because Reba was just everywhere at one point. Like,
125 episodes of that show. So they did
Wow.
that, and then they fucking reran it forever.
Yeah, because it seemed like that show was on for a long time.
She did a.
Because it's definitely in syndication. There's somebody playing that now, I'm sure.
She did one called Malibu County with Lily Tomlin in
Mm.
2012.
Oh shit, they gave the kid the gun.
There are just too many fucking TV shows to keep track of all this shit. Like, what?
That's what I'm saying.
Big Sky from 2020. I don't like, sure, that's a show. Reba McEntire's The Hammer, where she plays a judge. Okay.
Oh wow, no.
Not directed by Ron Underwood, but maybe the next one. Rex fucking Lynn is in that with her. Okay, so we're back to the rocks. Oop. All you need is some slime and some.
Yeah, just slap it on the side of there.
It was the 90s. They just went down to the supermarket and bought that shit.
Yeah, got it at the bubblegum machine.
Mhm. Well, shit, remember making your own slime?
Ugh.
Yep. That was a weird. The 90s was a weird time, folks. Or no, I mean the 80s to the 90s, like the sort of cultural relevance of Ghostbusters in just
Yeah, because you
introducing
could buy it.
slime
It
to
came included in shit, and like you
Double
could
Dare. They got slimed on that,
yeah,
right? Yeah. I mean, it just.
double dare. You can't do that on television and
Wait, did it start on You Can't Do That
slime.
on Television?
Yeah,
Okay.
because that became the whole big like draw to Nickelodeon for a minute.
Was the slime.
Yeah, and then they put in what was it at Universal Orlando when they had those studios down there. They had a whole area where they had the slime time thing, and yeah, it was big
It's a very big thing.
between Nickelodeon and Ghostbusters and He Man. There was this like the Fright Zone or some shit. It was one of those play sets that came with slime where you
The
locked
play.
the
Yes.
yeah, and he pressed the button like the snake button or some shit.
Yeah.
The slime comes out his mouth. The slime zone or some shit.
Because when the turtles brought it back, it was the ooze. So like
Yeah, it was ooze.
they weren't going to call it slime like those
No,
other cartoons.
they had one too. They had a thing that squirted slime ooze.
The promise of non-toxic children's toys. Everybody. God damn, how many kids do you think ate that shit? Like, it must have been so many. So
I
many. That's probably why kids are allergic to peanuts today.
I got rid of mine as soon as it like got too much shit in it from the
You got
carpet.
you got shit in it from carpets. Like they'd get dusty.
Yeah, they got all dusty, or either it dried out.
People would like make combo slime balls. Like it was just a
Yeah,
weird time, everyone. It was a weird, weird time. It was hard because America was setting the culture for Canada in 10 more years, like
yeah, because they were always behind us. When it was 1990 here, it still looked like 1982 in Canada.
I think the second one they might have even talked about it here, but I think the second one leans in on that Fred Ward in his youth was a tried to be a rodeo star before being a
Uh,
jack of all trades. All right. Yay!
we got one.
There's only one left. Foul shit. Ugh.
Like they blew up a pumpkin.
Did Dante? Did Joe look at that balloon? Did Joe Dante ever do anything like this? I mean,
Hmm.
because Gremlins movies are giant productions. Like they're big to dos requiring lots of models and things like that. Did he ever end up doing anything like this? I don't think so.
Uh,
Like the Burbs would have been a lower budget one, but
yeah.
like
I would assume
Explorers, I can't remember Explorers for the life of me.
Explorers was it was just so sedate for what it promises.
But I mean, like Explorers, Solar Babies. Was there
Yeah.
another one from that era that were just like I've totally forgotten?
Oh, wow.
Mac and Me doesn't count because Mac and Me was
No, that was a ripoff.
yeah, it was
It was cheap.
not non-cheap garbage sci-fi movies with
But
teenager
what you call
tweenage
it was a
cast.
huge flop, though. Um, Solar Babies.
But did anybody expect it to do well?
Yeah, it was supposed to, because it had a hot young cast, and who was somebody produced it, and they were like, "This is gonna be great." It's like,
That was 86. Mel Brooks, dude. Yeah, maybe we should have stopped listening to Mel Brooks.
like even the concept, people were just like, "I don't know, kids and roller skates."
Have I ever seen this? Like, really? Have I actually ever seen Solar Piece? I'm not sure I have.
Again, it's another completely just boring as hell. Prayer for the Roller Boys is better than that shit. Oh, this ain't it, is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's just gonna have a quick um does he run it off a cliff? He might run it off a cliff.
right. There's were they?
Yeah, but I think that like happens right now. Maybe it's got 5 minute end credits. That's possible with all those special effects. We'll see. I like how you can see the ground.
The ground, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's in continuity. There's been a giant
Mm-hmm.
thing turning it, but still. But this is one of those things. I don't know when we would have talked about it, but this idea of your triumvirate hero, where you basically have your Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, and Princess Leia. Only
Mm-hmm.
Luke and Leia aren't brother and sister in this case. It is too bad we did not get like 5 movies of Luke and Han fighting over Princess Leia like originally planned. Okay, I think we get, yep, there you get your forced perspective and jump. There there has got to be a
Oh wow.
poster of like a Shout Factory exclusive. The Steelbook has got to have the quote, "Can you fly, sucker?"
Oh wow.
Yep.
Hmm.
Oh, I remember the ending now.
Hmm.
Well, there's a wrap up. So this isn't one of the movies that's going to end on the action scene. We are going to get a nice little wrap up because nobody expected to make a sequel or worry
Oh
about that
yeah.
type of shit. Coming next summer. Coming soon. Tremors 2.
Right,
Wheels
cover next
where
summer.
we're going. We don't need wheels or whatever.
We don't need off roads.
I don't know. I'm terrified for when whoever it is that is stopping Universal from fucking making whatever stopped Universal from remaking Back to the Future with Zac Efron. Like, whenever
Yeah.
that person goes, the fucking floodgates are going to be terrifying.
Mm. Well, I don't think they're ever gonna touch it.
Don't go leave it alone.
They'll leave it alone as long as people are alive. like, but if Spielberg, Michael J. Fox, and Christopher Lloyd go, I think that'll be the point where they're like, okay, let's try this.
Mhm.
But I don't think they'll disrespect Michael J. Fox like that. There
Hopefully.
ain't no point. It's a complete trilogy. Just leave it alone. Don't be Ghostbusters.
Right.
Shit.
We're going to have another one of those to deal with in a few years.
I don't think so.
I thought Frozen Empire did okay.
Frozen Empire did okay till something just came out and was like stumped on it.
Okay.
I forget what it is though.
Okay, so Kevin Bacon's going to give up his cheap blondes.
She looks so different right there.
Yeah. I think they refilmed the ending, is what it is. And they didn't do
Yeah.
a Pretty in Pink where they only inserted um, certain
John
shots. So
Cryer,
so Andrew McCarthy's hair changed between each shot.
that
So
wig. Oh, okay.
yep, that's it. And we get an original Reba McEntire song, and we do have 4 minute end credits. So yeah, they
Okay,
wrapped
so
it up
maybe
real
maybe
quick.
she did do a promo video for it, which was probably just, played on TNN.
Right. And only had clips because nobody
Yeah,
was
just had
showing up.
clip.
Nobody was going to show up for a video without
Because you could
for
have
that.
two versions of it, just the
Mhm.
Reba version and
And then the clip
the one
version.
with clips from the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Who was the first? Oh shit. I was gonna say, who was the first one that actually did a big crossover between the movie? I bet it was fucking Jewel the Nile, and I bet people were like, let's hold off on that again.
I recall, and I didn't know this till I got older. There's two versions of Dan Hartman's "I Can Dream About You."
Really?
Yeah, there's one version of the guys from the movie just doing like, um, lip sync,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's a version where it's actually Dan Hartman in a bar singing to some chick or something. It's two different ones.
Okay. Okay, so the special effects on this were Woodruff and Gillis. They were practical effects guys who did Alien 3. So Stan Winston didn't do Alien 3, but it was these guys. and they have continued on with that franchise in its conversion to, mostly CGI and whatnot. I think we saw their names in the Requiem end credits, for example. So yeah, so SS Wilson shot the second unit, so then he directed the next one. But so that's Tremors 1. I'm trying to think. I mean, there really hasn't been. What would be a successful comedy genre crossover since since Ghostbusters, really, like
Well, Gremlins, but
Gremlins, but then the question of how successful and what the mix was on that.
right, because Gremlins 2 came out, and it was one of those sequels people was begging for, and then it didn't really deliver. Like it wasn't a hit.
Nobody showed up for that.
Right.
Yeah.
There we go. Why not tonight?
Kyra Sedgwick and Travis Bacon. So it filmed in California, not in Nevada.
89.
80,
Look at that.
yeah, because they should have fucking released it in August if it had been ready. Like, it would have been a perfect late summer movie. It would have been a perfect back before back to school movie.
Okay, PG-13. So
Yep.
they used their quota. Oh,
Yep.
when in California, visit wonderful Universal Studios. Ask for Babs.
Yep.
Oh, they should put that back on there.
I know they should. Especially since people are sitting around through credits now. Like, might as well.
Well, and because now they're doing their 60th anniversary too. I just saw some new footage of the what's it called, the tour. I hear Orlando is taking they're taking out Fast and Furious.
Oh, damn.
If they were smart, they would take it out of California too. But in Hollywood, it's part of the tour. It's like the finale of the tour. They got to replace that, and they got to replace King Kong with something else because that's dated as shit. Now that there's a whole nother Kong that's popular. That's what came out.
Yeah.
That fucked over Ghostbusters.
I was reading one thing that says basically this is all just not a long con, but a long process to get to get Kong able to sustain his own franchise without needing them to pay for Godzilla, basically.
Yeah, yeah, but who wants to? Anyway, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Current biggest hit of the
I don't.
year is Dune 2.
That's
Kung
crazy.
Fu Panda is number 2.
Hmm.
Then Kong Godzilla, or Godzilla Kong. Then Ghostbusters. Wait, is this not in order? Okay, hold on. Why is Box Office Mojo so fucking hard to find this shit on? The Bob Marley movie made 96 million.
Damn.
Fucking Aquaman only made 124. There you go. Good job. Good job, fellas. Madam Web and Argyle are at 45 each. Looking at the box office release, it's like, all right. So we also don't have an idea for next week. Oh, the first Omen bombed. Yeah. So next week will be our wrap up of our Fred Ward quadrilogy. And we'll let you know what we're watching next week.
Yeah, it'll be a surprise.
Yeah. Will it be Tremors 2? It's not impossible.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, till then, we're locking everything up, so don't be nibbling off the stash.
And don't be jumping up and down on the floor, because the graboids will get you.
Later.
Well, friends, gather round. It's time for a toast from Fake Willie French, your charming host. We're talking about Tremors, a monster flick so fine. With Andrew and Dee, let's delve into the design. Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward, a dynamic pair in a sleepy Nevada town. They're quite the scare. Giant worms underground causing quite the fuss. Fake Willie French says, hold on tight and trust us. Graboids, they call them, with tentacles and might. Fake Willie French shivers at their creepy sight. Ingenious and crafty, they burrow and attack. But our heroes, they fight back, never looking back. Andrew and Dee dissecting every scene with wit and charm like a well-oiled machine. Fake Willie French applauds, for their take is grand, bringing insights and laughs, a dynamic band. So here's to Tremors, a classic that thrills, and to 709 Meridian for the movie chills. Fake Willie French signs off with a cheer to monster movies and friends we hold dear.